morning everyone. We're going to be doing some life drawing today, and I've got this really beautiful picture down here by Joe Howard. He's a professional photographer. You can check out his work. He's kindly allowed me to use it for this demo and to allow my students to have a go as well, so please feel free to check out his site. Details just there, and I'll put them on the tag below. It's going to be really simple, and it's kind of nice when it's simple because it means that you're developing core drawing skills. So what we're going to be doing is using just charcoal and paper. First of all, I've got a piece of A3 paper which is nice and smooth. It's cartridge paper of decent quality because I'm going to be rubbing out into it, so I need the fibres to be fairly tough. Then I've got some charcoal pencils. So I've got two there. I've just sharpened this one to a decent point. I probably should do it a bit better than that, but I thought I'd just knock this up quickly. Then I've got a few sticks of charcoal. So this one's a little bit of a harder charcoal and this is a softer charcoal. I've got a putty rubber and a traditional rubber. I've also got a blending stub if I need that at some point. And I've got a knife and emery board, so I can use my knife to sharpen my pencils and my emery board just to shapen the end to a point and allow me to get some detail. So let's just get into it, shall we, and not fuddle about too much this time, because I know I can chat a bit too much. You need to start by getting a good core drawing. So hold the end of your pencil and start sketching it down. If you wanted to, you could take measurements. For example, you could look at the size of the head and check where you're hitting certain points of the body. You'd need a hard copy, as you can see I have here to the left of me, to do this. One, two, three, four, five, six, and I need some room above. She's very long and thin because most of her body is in shadow, which is going to allow us to play around with the tonal shifts. So let's look at putting this in and marking it off. Make her head that big. Will it give me enough room? Let's just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, clears it nicely. I've got a little bit of room just to bring up this elbow over here. Now remember that this is straight up kind of, and our head is on a tilt. Let's get that tilt in. Holding the pencil very low angle, so you're not coming in sharp, you're coming in low, and that will allow you to get a much softer line. That's coming down. Now at this point, you see that sitting underneath the chin, you've got the breast coming out to the left, and then that's going to be coming out to the arm, which is quite straight. The negative space between the top of the shoulder and the chin is quite small. And you can see it goes downhill because of the shadow. Now if you wanted to, you could take your head measurement, you could turn it round to work out how long the arm is in relationship to your head. And yeah, it's about equal. Once we've got that, you can shift a line in there to get the elbow in. Okay, and that should be coming in to the eye section on the side of the head. Let's get that down here. You've got the hips flaring out at this point. You can see that flare, and that's a beautiful long arch all the way down. So hold that point, which is there. We're flaring around. That point is there, which is still giving us a decent flare. Coming out roughly, if you put an alignment line in, so a straight line down, you can see how much of the arm should be coming out. It's not halfway, it's slightly less than halfway. You put that alignment line on there and that'll give you a guide. I'm losing track of where my points are here, of how far out your hip should come. You can see that kind of starts coming in down here. Okay, we've got the other leg sitting in here, and we're going to have shadow creeping up through the centre of the body, then across the throat section and the chest plate. Going to come up and around. and you're not going to be able to see any of the head, really. Get that angle a little bit straighter, but you are going to get an arm coming up over here. Again, you could take that measurement, you could turn it around 90 degrees, and you should be starting to hit the curve of the arm tucking behind the back of the head. Now, it's a fairly simple draft at this stage. Once you've got that draft down, then your hand needs to slide down the pencil and you need to start building up more accurate details, looking at the kinks, the curves, and obviously these lovely shadows that are going around the contours of the body. Okay, alright, let's get going, shall we? The face is going to be something I leave until last. Let's get the main body structure in. Face is going to be the hardest section of this picture, really. I'm going to check where I'm sitting with that. Alright, I've drifted. Our chin needs to come over because you can see the chin is sitting underneath the breast. Let's bring the side of the face over. Alright, we got the basics down, then let's get the side of the face in. Actually, I'm just going to quickly draft that leg in and look at that gap. You see how it sits halfway down? Look at that gap. Get that down there, like so. Now it's not going to be perfect because remember, you're not a robot, you're a human being. You're learning all the time. Even if you're a professional artist, you're always learning. Here, reach over there, over there. Let's get our nose in so you can see that shape, that triangle, leaving enough room at the bottom. Comes down, you got the mouth which is slightly open, up into the eyebrows. I need to bring the arm down a little bit more. The eyes going uphill because of the tilt of the head. And I'm going to put facing around there. And it's going to look really messy at this stage. It's only what I'd expect, but it'll come. Tune this nose a bit and start working it up. And you notice how when I'm fine tuning, I've slid my hand down. I've got a nice sharp point. It's the end of my charcoal. Right, now at this stage, you might find that you want to start cleaning it up because you can see that already you're getting a little bit messy. Now a putty rubber is probably better for this type of drawing at this stage. Knead your rubber, get it to a point, if you need it to a point to control where you want to remove the charcoal, and start working it in. It's not going to take it all out perfectly, but it will take the main bulk of it. Might end up having to flux a few other parts of the body because I think the head's got a little bit bigger than I anticipated it getting, which is normal when you're drawing. Let's bring that in here and start building up and double checking those initial decisions. We've got basics to work up from. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of toing and throwing and playing around with taking things off and putting it back on again. Once you've got a main drawing down, as you can see here, now I've gone a little bit darker than I highly recommend you all going. It's just because I want you to be able to see it nice and clearly with the camera. Once I've got this, I'm going to start working the shadows into the artwork. Alright, start bringing this in. Right, and then at this stage, what I want you to do is we need to just press this down and smooth it out. So I'm getting a bit of tissue. Please do not use your fingers, you know, it's not the greatest. I know everyone wants to use their fingers, but it's There's so many reasons why not to use your fingers. Now, everyone's going to ask me, why not don't you use your fingers, Kim? First of all, you've got oil in your fingers, so it can, after a while, make the paper go a little bit yellowy from that natural oil in your skin. Secondly, they're usually big and clumpy things, so it's hard to get in the details. It's easy to control it on this way. And thirdly, what will happen is you'll go around the house after you've done this and you've got a load of charcoal on your hands. You'll press things like light switches and open doors, and your other half will then start having a go at you, so it'll cause a massive arguments. So generally, do not use your fingers. Don't have to. You've got blending sticks, you've got tissue. Try to avoid finger rubbing if all possible. I know some of you are pulled towards the dark side of that. Try not to do it. And you can see I'm going over the lines, don't worry too much. I'll be working into that. You can see the edge of my reference paper down here. Beautiful. What a polished way to draw. I should never have done that. I should have folded it over. But anyway, we're going to ignore that. Right, so you can see there, hopefully you should have something that looks kind of similar to the picture. If you don't, then you might need to be going back and double checking your drawing that it's all sitting on. Okay, this is when you start having to work it up. Now that first stick, when I went in with that, you can tell that it's quite a mild, soft tone of charcoal. I do have a harder tone, which is going to allow me to get darker. If you want to go really dark, you could also use a carbon pencil. It just depends on how dark you want to go. You will also find, there's a lot of alsos to this, a mono zero can be quite helpful. You can use those to get into the detail and get something quite exacting even. I'm going to get a piece of tissue, because I don't want to lean on it and start smudging things. I'm shaping up my piece of putty rubber, and I'm going to start working out my highlights on it. And every time you do a little bit, you then really need to knead it back into the putty rubber, or you're going to end up putting everything that you've taken off back down on the paper, and you'll achieve pretty much nothing in that process, which will just cause frustration and anxiety. Now, if you want to, you could pick some up on purpose. You see how I'm picking it up on purpose, and then smudge it into the picture. Depends on how much you've got on your piece of paper, but the putty rubber, once it's got it on the end, it'll start laying it back in. So if you want to fudge out on the edge, you might find that's a handy way of doing it. Bring that in. See, I'm kind of trying to fuzz that shadow. We want a fuzzy edge. You do not want a crisp edge shadow, or it will not look very natural. You want the crisp edge on the edge of the silhouette of the body, and then all your shadow tones are delicately fudged out. That's a very professional terminology, fudging, but hey ho, it hopefully should give you a good idea of what I mean. Okay, and at this stage we need to work everything up to a more detailed, accurate observation. So you'll probably have to find you come back to your charcoal pencil. You might want to resharpen it to a really good accurate point if you're working on the face. Right, see how this is all shadow work and how I'm fuzzing the edges of it to make it appear much more natural, as if it's just the shadows draping around the contours of the body, and you're losing the edge of the form into the darkness. Oh, she's coming along. Okay, and we need to up our darker tones. So you can see here it's a game of toing and froing between adding on charcoal, blending it in, then removing and working up the highlights, just to check that you don't go too dark too quickly. Right, I've just been using a Mono Zero, which is basically a rubber in a pencil form. It's a very small version. I've got the 2.3, which is quite a fiddly one. It's really handy taking off and putting in detail when it's in tight, small areas. They work for graphite as well as charcoal. You can see I've managed to just clean up the face area. You can also take off a little highlight where you can see the eye just coming in there, which is rather nice. Okay, and you know, if you want anything really sharp, a traditional rubber will give you a little bit more of a sharper, crisper white, and if you go for the putty rubber will be a softer tone. Right, so there you go. Just a really nice, simple life drawing study. Hope you've enjoyed it. Have a play around. You've got a few different images that you can mess with. Also consider the scale you're working on. This is A3. Anything smaller than A3, you'll find that getting the facial details is pretty much impossible. If you don't have a Mono Zero rubber, as you can see that I was using, you might want to get a knife and just sharpen a traditional rubber into a point. That you will find that the traditional rubbers will take off a lot more and give you a stronger highlight when it comes to charcoal drawing. You can always use those as a substitute for bringing back some really strong highlights if you found that you've gone too dark. But do be aware that you will pick up charcoal, and if you don't constantly clean it and turn it around, you'll end up putting down the charcoal that you're trying to remove. It can be a bit counteractive. But there you go. Beautiful photograph. Nice little project to do. I'll see you all next time. Bye everyone.